President, please be seated. The chamber is back in session. The floor is now handed to the prosecution to continue their questioning of the witness. Before we continue, we would like to seek the time estimation from the prosecution. How much time do you need with this witness?
Thank you, Mr. President. I was going to bring this up before the chamber, sir, because this morning we were delayed at the start of the hearing and then there was a technical breakdown, and it doesn't seem that we will be able to cover all of the points that I wanted to tackle with the witness today, and I would like therefore to ask the chamber if I can carry on tomorrow morning, on the understanding that I will try and be as concise as possible. Progress, however, is relatively slow, and what I can tell you is that we will need the morning and finish at the latest by midday tomorrow. The agreement we have with the civil parties was that we would take 2 days out of the 2.5, and that the civil parties would use the morning of the 3rd day. If my request is granted, I would hope that the time allocated to the civil parties is not affected by the possible extension of the time granted to us, if you so agree. Thank you, sir.
President, the chamber cannot agree to your request. We can give you 1 hour extra time in compensation of the breakdowns.
Je vous remercie, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you, Mr. President. If I may, I will now continue with my questions to the witness. This morning, witness, you told us that a member of your in-laws called Hong, who had been sent temporarily to the ministry, was subsequently arrested by Pang. I need a little clarification on this. If I refer to D233/2, and it's one of the reports on interviews with you, with the agreement of the chamber and the President, I would like this to be put up on the screen so that we can look at the very last question of that document. And so that the witness can see it as well.
Yes, the chamber agrees to your request.
Merci. Alors,
Thank you. I won't read it in its entirety. It's a question about meetings in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. The subject was internal purges. And you answered, in the meeting, there were no charges against anybody. Even Mr. Yen Sari never brought charges against anybody in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Only people from outside that made accusations against the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, such as my former teacher, Van, whose original name was Chia Huan, who was the Northwest Zone chief and moved to work at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Later on, he was arrested. Another person, Kum, District Secretary of Karachi Sector, elder brother of my wife, who had to come to work at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, was arrested too. The same cases happened to Mek Tuk, alias Kem, an intellectual, Mr. Toch Pun, Toch Kam Dun, En Sukan, etc. And I will stop there. My first question is to know if you maintain, you stand by what I have just read out, you maintain what you said to the investigating judges.
Response: Yes, I stand by my statement. However, I'd like to make a comment. Previously, during the interview and the written statement, that is, in reference to this document, I usually use the word administer or managed, which is a common term regardless of the significance of the job. However, in reference to the current political situation, I cannot say I am an administrator. I am an assistant through the leader, as I did not administer or make any decision on my own, and I'd like to add that to the statement.
merci.
Thank you. Just now you talked about Hong, who was one of your in-laws, and here you talk about Kim, District Secretary of Karachi Sector, elder brother of my wife. Is this somebody else, or is it the same person that you mentioned just now?
Response: I can only recall now that Hong was his original name and his revolutionary name is Kum.
Merci.
Thank you. Do you remember why he was taken to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and then arrested?
Response: I do not know the reason for his arrest.
Monsieur le Président,
Mr. President, I would now like to refer to another hearing report in response 56 given to the investigating judges. If this could also be pointed out to the witness, I would be grateful.
មន្ត្រីរដ្ឋបាលតុលាការទទួលឯកសារពីតំណាងសាធារណរដ្ឋជាតិយកទៅជូន
The President, court officer, can you take the document from the prosecutor and give it to the witness for his examination?
Voilà, alors la question 56.
So question 56 in this document 369/36 is, can you show the names of those who were recruited to work at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs? And your answer was, yes, I can. As I already indicated, my in-law was taken to work at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs ever since when he has disappeared. He was affiliated with Koitun. End of quote. Does this help to refresh your memory with respect to the reasons why your brother-in-law was taken to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and then arrested?
Response: I need to consult with my duty counsel since I'm not clear on the question. Response: I do not know the reasons for his arrest, but I know that my brother-in-law was from 304 zone, which was under the control of Koitun.
Qu'est-ce qu'on entend par le terme affilié?
What is actually meant by this term to be affiliated with somebody? What did that mean under the democratic Cambodia regime to be affiliated with Koitun? I don't want details about whatever your brother-in-law might have done. I just want to know what this term affiliated means.
Response: here we refer to the revolutionary affiliation or line. It means if he is from 304 zone, it means he is affiliated with 304 zone. That's what it meant.
Je vous remercie.
Thank you.
Je vais en revenir alors à la précédente
Can I take you back to the previous response which you have confirmed, in which just now you quoted ex-teacher named Van or Chia Hun, who had been transferred to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and subsequently arrested.
Est-ce que c'était également donc une personne qui travaillait
This case, was it also somebody who originally worked outside the ministry and who had been brought into the ministry by Pang on a provisional basis?
Response, that is correct.
Est-ce que de manière générale, vous avez pu
Generally speaking, can you say that it happened quite often that Pang would bring people from the provinces who were cadres or who had other duties and then temporarily affected them to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs?
Response, that is correct.
Et hier, à la réponse 21,
In D 369/36, in one of your responses that you confirmed, you said in B1 we put people whose biography was not clear on one side, and I don't know if I have to show the document again. If I could just briefly quote what was shown yesterday. As you wish, Mr. President.
ក៏បីបង្ហាញនៅលើ
President, the document shall be shown on the screen so that other parties and the public can view it.
je vais donc relire ce qui avait été confirmé par le témoin hier.
Let me just read out what was confirmed by the witness yesterday. Quote, in B1 we put people whose biographies were not clear on one side, and once we had investigated them, we threw them out and sent them elsewhere.
Alors ma question,
My question is the following. Once they got to the foreign ministry, who did the investigations? Were they done in the ministry or was this done outside the ministry?
Response, Bond sent those people temporarily to work at the ministry. And the investigation was conducted outside, it means by Bong.
merci.
Thank you. But can you help us to understand why they were temporarily sent to the ministry and why they weren't directly arrested and sent to a security centre rather than having them transit through the ministry? Do you understand the reason why they did have to go through the ministry?
Response, I observed that there were no weapons kept at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs.
Et en quoi est-ce que cela rendait
And
nécessaire le fait que
why did that make it necessary to have these people transit through the Ministry of Foreign Affairs? The simple fact that there weren't weapons in the ministry?
Response. It is rather difficult to respond to your questions. Anyway, I'll try. Maybe because they have a confidence in me or something. Because I was in charge and probably they trusted me.
Merci.
Thank you. In the extract from your response in D233-2, in quoting the name, there was Mirtuch alias Kem, who you described as an intellectual. What was his precise duty? What were his functions before he was taken away and arrested by Pong?
Response. I did not know his position or his role.
Qu'en est-il de
What about Toch Kam Dun? Did you know what his role was before he was arrested?
Response. No, I did not.
Et concernant
And concerning Toch Pun and In Sokan, did you know their functions before they were arrested outside B1 and eventually what they were doing inside the ministry?
Response. I only knew their faces and the works that they did, but I did not know of their exact roles because it was not pronounced.
Mais vous
But you just said that you knew the work they were doing. Could you tell us what it was? The work they were doing inside the ministry? I'm talking about Miktuch, Toch Pun, Toch Kam Dun and En Sokan.
The witness, could you please clarify your question?
Oui.
Yes? You said that you didn't know the exact titles of the functions of these people, but you did know what kind of work they were doing in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. So what I would like to know is, what were the tasks ascribed in the ministry to these people before they were arrested?
Response. As I can recall, they came to rest at the ministry and they helped with minor tasks, for example, like in writing And if he was needed for some other task, then he would assist other people. At that time, whoever could assist other people, then the person would assist based on their practical knowledge. There was no clear function of each individual.
Est-ce que parmi ces personnes,
And among the names that I quoted, before they went to B1, were there any former ambassadors in the group?
Response: I cannot recall.
ce matin,
This morning, in addition to the names that I quoted in the extract and which you confirmed, there was another piece that was read out from your answers to questioning D91/15. And I'll try and find the ERNs for you. You also mentioned the name of In Lorn, alias Nat. Do you know who In Lorn, alias Nat was?
ជួយមើលខ្ញុំផងណា In Lorn.
alors pour préciser,
So, just to assist you, it's document 91/15 E233/2, French ERN 00524353 and 54, in English 00361014, and in Khmer 00204100. It's the second question in the document. Where you were asked if you knew a certain number of diplomats.
ចំណុចដែលលោកត្រូវធ្វើដេញដោលនឹងមិនទាន់ឃើញទេ
President Prosecutor, could you hold on? The court officer is trying to locate their portion for the witness.
voilà, donc c'est juste une question concernant
It's just about the one person who was mentioned in the question, and you said that you knew the people, including In Lorn alias Nat. So could you just tell us what the activities and duties were that were carried out by In Lorn alias Nat before he went to B1, and at the point where he was in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs?
Response: It seems that I am not familiar with the name Unloan. I knew the person by the name Nat, but not by the name of Unloan. Maybe I was confused, or maybe this is a mistake made by the transcriber in this record. I must say I do not know any person by the name of Unlon, but I know a person or an individual named Nat.
បញ្ហាណាតខ្ញុំអត់ដឹងទេ
I do not know about NAT issues.
Nat était. Merci.
Thank you. Nat was the revolutionary name he used at the time. Can you therefore tell us what Nat's duties were before he came to B1 and what were his duties at B1 when he got there?
ណាតតាមខ្ញុំដឹងគឺ
As I know, NAT was a military.
C'était un militaire, mais quelle fonction?
He was a soldier, but what duties did he fulfill as a soldier before he went to the ministry?
ខ្ញុំដឹងថាគាត់ជាយោធាប៉ុន្តែ
I knew that he was a military, but I did not know what role or task he performed.
Merci. Dans
Thank you. Question. In the passage I read a while ago, you confirmed that accusations came from outside of the ministry, and you said this morning that people were arrested by Pang. How did you know that members of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs were accused by outsiders? What do you mean by outsiders?
នៃនេះ
It means that Bong had the authority and he was able to take whoever he wants and whenever he wanted.
Mais sur quelle base, Pang?
Question. But on what basis would Pang arrest one person or another? Did he base such arrest on documents?
ខ្ញុំអត់បានដឹងទេ
I did not know about that.
Monsieur le témoin, en tant que
Witness. As Ieng Sari, member of the Standing Committee and Central Committee, Vice Prime Minister in charge of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, did he receive information, for instance, confessions of prisoners or reports regarding the contents of confessions of prisoners? Did he receive such information?
He only came to know about that when they were taken away.
est-ce que Yang Sari a convoqué des réunions?
Did Ieng Sari convene meetings to discuss such problems and arrests of persons at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs?
គេយកទៅហើយបាត់ហើយអត់មានការហៅ
Those people were already taken away and there were no meetings.
Monsieur le Président, je souhaiterais que
Mr. President, may I request the Chamber's leave to have placed on the screen a passage from D233/2. That is an answer given by the witness. It is in Khmer 00357531. And in French it is 00405457, page 7. And in English it is page 7 in ERN 00361014.
Alors la question qui était posée était la suivante.
The question asked was as follows. Some witnesses said that regarding reports on the contents of confessions, Dutch sent them to Office 8. It's 70. And Deutsch sent this to Mr. Ieng Sari. How did Mr. Ieng Sari manage such cases? And you were asked whether you knew. And you said, yes, I knew. Mr. Ieng Sari convened a meeting at the ministry to discuss this issue, but I am not aware of any decision taken by Ieng Sari. Sometimes he had a sad face. As far as I knew more deeply, it was the Central Committee that had appointed Mr. Son Sen to take charge of security. End of quote. Do you recall saying this to the co-investigating judges or to the investigators sent by the co-investigating judges?
But
I did answer that. He knew when those people were brought in, and when he was absent, I would later on inform him that those people had been brought in. So he must have known about that. He would also accept those people, but he did not know where those people were sent out, and I did not know about that either.
Est-ce que vous pourriez nous dire quand?
If you do remember, can you tell us when Ieng Sari convened that meeting regarding reports of the contents of confessions?
I do not understand the question. I do not understand the question. The President. Mr. Co-Prosecutor, can you ask the question again?
Dans l'extrait que j'ai lu et que
In the excerpt I just read, and whose contents you confirmed, it is written, yes, I am aware, Mr. Ieng Sari convened meetings of leaders in the ministry to discuss that. My question to you is, when was that meeting convened?
People disappeared, and we did not know where those people were brought to. I and he were responsible for dealing with the psychological issues among the staff, so that the staff would not feel afraid. That was a measure that we took in order for them not to be afraid, because we did not know the reason why they disappeared.
Toujours à propos du même extrait, nous allons revenir.
Still with regard to the same extract, we will return to what you have just said. In that extract which I read out, it is said that the Central Committee had designated Mr. Son Sen to be in charge of security. My question to you is, was Mr. Son Sen in charge of security throughout the period from April 1975 to January 1979, or were there any changes with regard to those in charge of security at any point in time during that period?
រឿងនេះខ្ញុំ
I did not know about this issue.
Vous avez dit que tant Yang Sari que vous,
You stated that both Ieng Sari and yourself did not know where Pang took the persons arrested. I will now read out to you an extract from the same document, D233/2. On page ERN 0035 7530, in French 00405456, and it is page 6, and page 7 in English, that is 00361014.
et je vais prendre 2 secondes parce que je ne retrouve pas.
I'll take a few seconds to find the exact extract.
Je pense que je vais y revenir, j'ai dû faire une erreur dans la page.
I will return to it later, Mr. President. I have mixed up the pages. Let me return to what you said regarding Pang a while ago. And at this stage, Mr. President, I have observed that on several occasions, the witness stated that Pang came to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs to arrest people in late 1978, particularly in the last 2 months of 1978. However, on the case file, we have the confession of Pang, and it is document IS 5.14. I am not requesting that this document be shown to the witness or put on the screen because he has never seen it, but I deem it important to ask the witness whether in that period of May 1978 regarding the arrest of Pang, whether I can refresh his memory or ask him whether he saw Pang in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in late 1978.
សូមពិនិត្យមើលឆ្នាំ
I would like to examine the date, the year. Can anyone assist me?
សូមបញ្ជាក់សំណួរនិងឆ្នាំឲ្យច្បាស់
Could you indicate the question again with specific date, especially the year?
Je parle de 1960.
I am talking of 1978.
Est-ce que, comme je l'ai dit,
Question. As I said, regarding the period when Pang was arrested, that period was May 1978. Would that refresh your memory as far as the period of that arrest is concerned? Because you stated earlier that Bang Trabek was transferred to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs only in late 1978. And then you also said that Pang came to the Foreign Ministry probably 2 months before the arrival of the Vietnamese in the capital. The time that elapsed between the arrest of Pang and the arrival of the Vietnamese could not have been longer. What do you think of that?
សូមទោស
Response. My apology. I may mix up when it comes to years, but I would like to answer the question as follows on the basis of my memory. Pang disappeared for no reason. When he disappeared, I and Mr. Ieng Sari went to assist with the preparation at Bang Trabek. And as for the work or the situation of Pang's disappearance, I was not aware of that.
je vous remercie.
Thank you. We will return to Bang Trabek later on. I have found the extract I wanted to read out to the witness, and it is document D233/2, page 6 in French, middle of the page 7 in English, and in Khmer it is 00357530. Mr. President, may I request that this page be placed on the screen and that a hard copy thereof be shown to the witness.
Just go ahead.
Alors la question qui était posée, c'est
Now, the question that was asked was as follows. Some witnesses said that the report about the implications in the confessions from S21 were sent. Are you aware of that? And your answer was, yes, I was aware of that. They were sent to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Some documents were kept by Mr. Sung Sekun, but at the time of the flight, all those documents disappeared, and most of those documents contained fictitious facts or information. Now, my question to you is as follows. As you stated, were confessions indeed sent by S21 to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs? Do you confirm that assertion?
បាទខ្ញុំរក្សាដដែល
Yes, I stand by that.
Saviez-vous si c'était Pang qui
Question. Do you know whether those confessions were sent by Pang or by someone else?
ខ្ញុំមិនដឹង
I did not know who sent those confessions, but I saw those confessions at the ministry.
Pourriez-vous nous dire
Question. Can you tell us precisely which confessions you saw at the ministry and who were implicated, or what is those who were concerned by those confessions?
តាមខ្ញុំចាំចម្លើយ
As I remember, those confessions were of Mr. Koi Thun.
et qui vous avait montré ces aveux?
Question. And who showed you those confessions involving Mr. Koi Thun?
ពេលនោះ
At that time,
ខ្ញុំឃើញបងអៀងសេរីគាត់យកមក
I saw Mr. Ieng Sari
ឲ្យស្ដាប់
brought the confessions and read out those confessions.
Est-ce qu'il en a donné lecture?
Question. Did he read those confessions at a meeting in the foreign ministry?
គាត់អាននៅក្នុងក្រសួងការបរទេស
He read them at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs.
Je n'ai pas bien compris votre réponse.
I didn't quite understand your question. Are you saying that he read out the confessions to all the staff at the ministry, or in a restricted meeting attended by only some of the cadres in the ministry?
គឺអានក្នុងការប្រជុំ
He read them
កម្មាភិបាលថ្នាក់កណ្ដាល
in a meeting amongst the middle cadres,
ពីថ្នាក់លើរហូតដល់ថ្នាក់កណ្ដាល
from the upper levels to the middle levels.
Est-ce qu'en plus de lire cette
Question. Apart from reading Koi Thun's confessions, did Ieng Sari make any remarks on those confessions or express his thoughts on those confessions?
ពេលអានហើយ
After he read the confessions,
ទាំងលោកអៀងសេរី
both
ទាំងអ្នក
Mr. Ieng Sari and I, as well as everyone, became afraid.
Et pourquoi aviez-vous peur?
Question. And why were you afraid? Were Ieng Sari, yourself and others affiliated to Khoi Thun?
We were afraid because I thought that my day would come later.
À la suite de
Question. Following Khoi Thun's arrest, can you tell me whether at the Foreign Ministry, for those who had worked with Khoi Thun who came from the North Zone, there were any consequences?
It was not only about the North Zone. The Vietnamese had big attacks, so the situations became chaotic. The fears and the attacks by the Vietnamese caused everyone to even become even more afraid.
Merci.
Thank you. Question. Which period are you referring to when you talk about the reading of Khoi Thun's confessions and the attack by the Vietnamese? In which year are we?
I did not know the exact year because I am a forgetful person. I did write something in my notebook, but when we ran, we left them behind. The Vietnamese began their attacks, their aggression on Cambodia a long time ago. But the situation became intensified at that time. It was clear that the Vietnamese came in, so the situation was like what I have just described.
Juste pour clarifier, il y a eu plusieurs attaques.
Let me clarify that the Vietnamese attacked on several occasions. Are you talking of the final attack in late December 1978 or an attack that occurred a lot earlier in 1977?
Response. It is difficult for me to make a specific date. I can only respond in general. That is all.
Toujours concernant cette affaire.
Still, with regard to the Khoi Thun affair, after Ieng Sari read out his confessions at a meeting attended by middle cadres, did Ieng Sari talk about a meeting at Samres regarding the arrest of Khoi Thun?
Response. In my position as assistant to Ieng Sari, I had to work on the psychological issues so that in order to calm the people down.
In Chanchamres, were there people who came from the zone where Koitun had worked? And could he therefore have been suspected of being affiliated to Koitun?
នៅ ច្រើនចម្រែ
Response. At Chiang Chamret, many of them were from zone 304, that is from Koitun's zone.
Est-ce qu'en conséquence, il a
Was it therefore necessary to carry out an investigation to find out the extent to which such people were affiliated with Koitun?
I do not hear the translation, says the witness.
Je vais reprendre ma question, monsieur.
I'll pick up again on my question, Mr. President. It might be my last question before the break, but that, of course, is up to yourself. You said, witness, that in Chanchamres there were a lot of people who came from 304, the North Zone, and might they have been suspected of being affiliated with Koitun, and therefore might it have been necessary to conduct an investigation to find out how close they were to Koitun, and what they knew about his activities?
Response. Those who were at Chiang Chamret and who came from the Koitun's zone were the children of the peasants, or were peasants themselves. They did not have any influence regarding the weapon or the military issue. So there was no need to conduct any investigation there.
Merci.
Thank you. Mr. President, shall I continue to 22 like yesterday, or do we stop?
President, you may continue until 2:40 p.m.
Witness, just now you talked about S21 confessions which were referred to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. As far as you were aware, were confessions transmitted from S21 which implicated people in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs?
ខ្ញុំមិនបានដឹងទេ
Response. No, I did not know about that.
On the other hand, were you able to glean information that some staff members from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs had been implicated in confessions, even if those confessions were not actually transmitted to the ministry?
ដោយខ្ញុំបានជម្រាបអញ្ចឹង
Response. As I said, I myself was also worried, and I believed everybody else was also afraid.
Monsieur le Président, je voudrais m'en référer.
Mr. President, I'd like to refer to D233/2, same document again, in 00357530 in Khmer.
President, yes, you can use the document. Court officer, could you indicate the exact portion on the document to the witness so that he can view that portion and respond to the question?
Oui, alors en français.
In French, it's page 5. In other words, 0040, 54, 55, and in English it's pages 5 and 6. 0036, 10, 12, 213. So, the question that was put to you, which is on the previous page in Khmer, concerned two individuals, Ketchun and Chun Prasit. And the question is, one witness said that Mr. Ketchun and Mr. Chun Prasit had been implicated by a number of documents, but Mr. Ieng Sary told Pol Pot that if the two people were arrested, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs would have to be abolished. Did you know this story? Was this the reason that Mr. Ketchun and Chun Prasit were arrested? Was it because Mr. Ieng Sary had influence that these two persons had not been arrested? In the question, in French at least, it is worded in a somewhat confusing fashion, but in any case you answered. I was aware about this, but I was worried for myself too. I did not know who had invented such a story of accusation. These two persons were indeed defended by Mr. Ieng Sary. As far as I knew, not only Mr. Ieng Sary, but also Pol Pot. So, do you confirm what you answered this question about the fact that Ketchun and Chun Prasit were implicated in a number of documents?
Response, yes, I stand by my statement.
Qu'est-ce que cela veut dire être mis en cause dans plusieurs documents?
What does it mean in that case to be implicated in several documents?
President, the assistant to the prosecutor, because a lot of numbers have been used during this questioning session, could you please try to be a bit more precise? Otherwise, it is very difficult to follow all the documents being used in reference to the questioning put by the prosecution.
Monsieur le Président,
Mr. President, I was referring to the question that was put to the witness in document D233/2, and at the start of the question it was saying that these two people had been implicated in several documents. My wish was to find out what it meant to be implicated in several documents within democratic Cambodia. Perhaps I can reword this for you. Does being implicated in several documents mean being accused by somebody under the regime.
The President, the witness, please pause. Defense Counsel for Ieng Sary, you may proceed. However, you are reminded of your objection. You have to make it precise and brief and not to make in details as what you did this morning.
Very well, Mr. President, and good afternoon. Again, out of principle, this is quite leading in nature. Now, I understand the frustrations the Council is feeling, but it is leading. And if it's going to be permitted, and I have no objections to that, then some leeway should be given and granted to the other side. Because he's asking, what does this mean? And he gives them the answer. That's why it's leading. It suggests the answer.
President, the prosecution, you may take a stand before we take a break.
Thank you, Mr. President. I was talking about the portion of the question where there is reference to implication, as in other documents, but I don't think the question I'm putting to the witness is quite as leading as that, because straight after there is the reference to if these two people were arrested, the ministry would have to be abolished. So there is reference to implication in various documents, and quite obviously it involves arrest. So I was simply asking here for confirmation that accusation was what was concerned.
Response. It is of my understanding my apology, I'd like to consult with my duty counsel first. President, International Council for Nuon Chi, you may proceed.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. While the witness is consulting his lawyer, maybe just for the record, there is a discrepancy between the English, the French and the Khmer translation of the answer the prosecutor just read. Maybe the prosecutor can clarify this. In the English version, as far as I understand it, in the English version of the answer to this question, the question read out by the prosecutor, he said he did not know about the incident. So maybe the prosecutor can help us to clarify this discrepancy.
President, thank you for your comment. The prosecution, could you please respond?
I believe I can't answer straight away, Mr. President. I think the best thing would be to go back to the original Khmer, because there does appear to be a discrepancy between the English and French versions, and I can't read Khmer, so the best thing would probably be for me to have this looked at during the break and to come back to you with an answer afterwards.
President, thank you.
The
time is appropriate for the break. Before the break, we would like to ask other parties who have yet taken turn to question this witness. As far as the prosecution has put some questions to the witness already, I'd like to check with the lead co-lawyers, how much time do you need for your questioning of this witness? Lead co-lawyer, Mr. President, the lead co-lawyers require the same time allocation of 3 hours to question this witness. Lead co-lawyers, you should reconsider your time because the time have shifted already, and for usually for one morning or afternoon session, the time allocation cannot be 3 hours. The actual time per each session is 2 hours and 10 minutes. So please consult yourself and try to recalculate the time. What about Nuon Chia's defense team? How much time do you envisage that you will need?
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I think we don't need more than half a day. If that's 2 hours and 10 minutes, I'm not sure. Depends on whether it's the morning or the afternoon. That will do. In any case, we have discussed this issue with the Ieng Sary defense team, and they have expressed the wish to go first. And we do not object to that. If the trial chamber agrees, then Ieng Sary would start, and we may need less time than half a day to do our questioning.
President, thank you, Defense Counsel. What about Ieng Sary's Defense Counsel? How much time do you anticipate that you will need?
Good morning, good afternoon, Mr. President, Your Honors. Initially, I had anticipated about a day and a half. However, depending on what happens today, tomorrow, that may shift probably less than. But right now, I would say slightly over a day. I think the defense was given 2.5 days. I think we will be able to manage within the time period originally envisaged. Now, usually when I say a day, it could be less than a day. And if, for instance, the prosecution and civil parties take the entire day tomorrow, then obviously it gives us the opportunity to spend the night in condensing our or reevaluating, as opposed to going immediately, which means that we may take a little bit longer, which is normally the case. Anyway, I hope this is helpful.
President, thank you, Counsel. For the lead co-lawyer, it is unlikely that we will grant you more than one session. And we may only give an additional 1 hour extra time to the prosecution. And probably for the afternoon session after the break, when we return, then it will be the time for the defense to question this witness, except in the cases where we might face some technical issues like what we did experience this morning. What about Kilson's defense? Defense counsel, We, the Defense Counsel for Khieu Samphan, require between 1 and 1.5 hours to question this witness. President, thank you to all parties for your anticipation of the time required. The Chamber will consider your time anticipation so that we can rearrange the time to make it more effective for questioning this witness, so that it can be concluded as envisaged, and that we try to have it finished within this week, so it's not going to cause any difficulty to this witness if it were to continue to next week. And we try our best to accommodate that and find a better solution. Except in the cases where we could not find an appropriate solution, then it will be moved to next week. Lead co-lawyer, you may proceed. Mr. President, I'd like to reconfirm that the time that we need, that is the lead co-lawyer's need, is 3 hours, but there is one minor mistake. And in fact, we agree to the recommendation by the trial chamber that we only need one morning session. So it is roughly about 2 hours 15 minutes to 2.5 hours. It is now appropriate for a 20-minute break, and we shall resume at 3:10. Court officer, could you assist the witness and his duty counsel with refreshment and the waiting room during the break, and have them back at 3:10. The court is now adjourned. All rise, says the greffier.